This is Module 5, Review Screencast, Multisensory Literacy Instruction. In this screencast, we will review 6 characteristics of effective instruction for students with dyslexia. We will also look at examples of multisensory structured language teaching. Let's begin with the 6 characteristics of effective instruction. Students with dyslexia benefit from instruction that is explicit. That means that students are taught exactly what they need to know in a direct and straightforward manner. Here's a short video clip of an Orton Gillingham teacher teaching this student the concept of soft C.
And now it's time for our new lesson. We are going to learn about soft C. Sometimes you've learned C's are usually followed by an A, an O, or a U when they say the K sound. But sometimes C makes the S sound, like an S, right? And that is when the C is followed by an E, an I, or a Y. So what these are going to say, the vowel just tells us the clue to what the C says. So this is going to say S, S, S. Let me just show you. When you have it followed by an A, it says K and K and K. So these 3 are the K sound, and these 3 are they call it the soft C. The S. It sounds like an S, right?
Students with dyslexia benefit from instruction that is systematic. That means that the instruction is sequential. Concepts are taught in a logical, well-planned sequence. Lessons are also incremental. Each lesson carefully builds on the previous learning. In Module 3, we discussed that students' invented spellings have shown us a developmental progression of phonics features that children learn across stages. We learned that students tend to learn beginning consonants first, followed by final consonants. Short vowels are learned before long vowels. This research-supported sequence helps teachers of dyslexic students identify which sounds and which phonics features should be learned first and which phonics features will be learned a little bit later. Instructional materials for dyslexic students often follow a prescribed scope and sequence to help teachers organize incremental learning shifts. Students with dyslexia benefit from instruction that is diagnostic. In supplemental intervention contexts, the reading teacher individualizes instruction to address individual needs. This means that the instructional foci are diagnosed and monitored through continuous assessment. Here we see a reading intervention teacher watching a student read and taking notes on that process. The teacher would use this kind of assessment data to design instruction. As the instruction is implemented, the teacher continues to take notes and assess students' learning so that the next day's plan can be tailored to the student's needs. Diagnostic instruction is instruction that follows a process of assessment, planning, teaching, followed by assessment of learning in that teaching. Dyslexic students benefit from reading instruction that is intensive. This means students are provided multiple attempts and are given immediate and specific feedback. Let's watch Susan Nolan as she works with a 4th grade student who's struggling to recall the sound that is made by the letters THR. Notice how she gives the student multiple attempts to correct the behavior after she's provided careful and immediate feedback on the attempt.
Okay, Christian, I'm just going to show you a few cards and I want you to tell me the sounds.
A, O, I, F, O.
Sp.
Sp.
Mm-hmm.
Fr. Tr. Cr. Twa. Fr. Fur. Fr.
Say it again.
Fr.
Cover up the R. What does that say?
F.
It makes a sound that's very close to, but where are your teeth when you say, what are they touching?
My teeth.
Your teeth are touching what?
My lip.
Your lip, okay. When you make this sound, your teeth have to be like squeezing your tongue together. So your tongue has to come out between your teeth. Good. So this says, now uncover this. Throw. Throw. Good job. Let's write that 3 times and say throw, throw, throw. Say it.
Throw.
Say it again.
Throw.
Good job.
Throw.
Good.
Throw.
Excellent. And I like the way that you concentrated on putting your tongue out through your teeth. That's good.
Dyslexic students also benefit from instruction that is cumulative. Careful and consistent review of previously learned content is incorporated into each lesson. Let's check in again with Susan Nolan as she works with a 4th grade student as he reviews sounds and letter formation.
Right now, this time I'm going to say the sounds and I want you to say the sound back and write it. Ah.
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 Aw.
And say it as you write it.
Aw.
Good. E.
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 These are all sounds that the student has previously learned to hear and record. Dyslexic students benefit from instruction that is focused on the structure of language. Dyslexic students need instruction on phonology, or the study of sounds, including phonemic awareness, which is the manipulation of oral sounds, and phonics, which is the matching of sound to symbols. Dyslexic students benefit from the study of orthography, including letter formation, rules for capitalization, and punctuation. They benefit from explorations of grammar, which we call syntax, and the specific study of the meaningful parts of words, also known as morphology. Now that we've reviewed the 6 characteristics of effective instruction for students with dyslexia, let's move on to thinking about multi-sensory structured language teaching. In the IDEA fact sheet, you've learned that dyslexic students need a different approach to learning language from that employed in most classrooms. They need to be taught slowly and thoroughly the basic elements of their language, the sounds and the letters which represent them, and how to put these together and take them apart. They have to have lots of practice in having their writing hands, eyes, ears, and voices working together for conscious organization and retention of their learning. When we think of multisensory teaching, we think of teaching that incorporates students' visual, auditory, tactile, and kinesthetic skills. Let's look at a few examples of multisensory teaching. Here's a teacher in an Orton Gillingham 2nd grade classroom. Watch for how she uses visual information, auditory information, tactile information, and kinesthetic or movement to help students learn to decode words.
The Orton Gillingham approach to me is a multisensory approach using hand movements and using their visuals, using manipulatives, everything kind of together, the way children learn. Orton can be used for whole group instruction. Even though we originally trained one-on-one, that was not very time effective for a classroom teacher. And so we thought this is just an excellent approach to use for children of all learning abilities, of all ranges, and how we can adapt it for classroom use. You usually begin with a review of a previously taught skill. We're going to review our sound first review. And what is that? What does that say? Shine. Spell it for me. T-I-O-N. What does it say? Shine. Write it on your arm. T-I-O-N. What does it say? Shine. Actually, the almost the entire time is spent of review of some sort.
So we see students were shown T-I-O-N. They read it out loud. They could hear what they were saying. Then she had them write T-I-O-N on their arm. So they are touching. It's a tactile act. spelling that cluster. And because they're writing on their arm, not only are they forming the letters, but they're feeling the formation of the letters. So in that example, this teacher has used visual, auditory, tactile, and kinesthetic modalities to think about TION. Let's look at another example. In this example, the tutor is going to help the student use 3 blocks to think about and manipulate sounds. First, she's going to assign a sound in a word to each block. So if the word is cat, she will point to each block and assign a sound. K, a, t. Then she will ask the child to remove the blocks at the beginning and end and just isolate that middle sound. As you watch the tape, notice how the tactile assignment of a sound to each block gradually helps the student kinesthetically or physically remove the sound in the isolation task.
Here's the k, t. So I just want the sound here, no letter, okay? So what sound is in the middle of hot? Good job. And what sound is in the middle of met? So the F, good job. What sound is in the middle of rain? Beautiful. What sound is in the middle of sick? Really? Is it ick in the middle? Or is that another part of it? Let's break that one apart. S, ick. So what was this middle one? Ick. Good job. Okay, say this word after me. Mud. What sound is in the middle of mud? You can break them. Okay, and that's the ending is it's ud, but if we took all the sound, good job. How about the word roll? Repeat it, roll. Good, and what's in the middle? Good job. I like that. How about the word Pete? Good job. And how about the word Mike? Good job. And how about the word look? Good. Really? Oh, good job.
Here's an example called Elkonin boxes. In Elkonin boxes, the teacher will provide purposeful multisensory phonics instruction. Notice in this tape how pushing the pennies into the boxes helps students listen for and record sounds.
So I'm going to make some boxes for you. Beach. 3 pounds. Say beach slowly.
Beach.
Good. Now push your pennies for beach.
Beach.
Good. What do you hear in the first box?
B.
Good for you. Now remember, when you make your B, stick and ball. Okay, now let's listen and see what else you hear. Say beach again.
Beach.
No, start at the beginning with the first penny.
Beach.
What else do you hear?
E.
Where do you hear the E?
Right here.
Good for you. Okay. Now push your pennies and tell me what the last sound is.
Beach.
You're in that last spot.
C-H.
Good for you. You knew those 2 sounds. And there's actually a silent A in beach. Okay, so now you can write it into your story.
In this clip, we see how the kinesthetic movement of the finger on the penny into a visual space while the student says the word helps them spell parts of that word. This is an example of purposeful multisensory phonics instruction. And the final example shows how we can use multisensory instruction to support understanding of sight words. This is an interesting tape because in addition to showing multisensory instructional techniques, it also shows explicit discussion of the sight word and suggests some techniques for systematic review of sight words.
Hi, my name is Ann Glass. I'm a reading and learning specialist at a private school in New York City, and I work with kindergartners through third graders on reading, word study, and writing skills. In addition to being a reading specialist and a learning specialist, I'm also a parent, and today I'm going to talk to you about topics in reading. Sight words are high-frequency words in written language that do not follow conventional phonics rules. Children learn them through repeated exposure to reading and spelling them, and through lots and lots of repetition and practice. Sight words should be introduced in isolation and should be done by generating a conversation as to why this word is tricky. So for example, let's take the word said and put it on the board and see how we might discuss introducing it to children. Examining the word yields that the letter S is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's saying S at the beginning of the word. The letter D is also following phonics rules, making a D sound in final position. And then you have two vowels, A and I, that are teaming up to sound like a short E. Now this is where it gets tricky, and this should be a subject of discussion with you and your class, and just noticing that that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Once you have that discussion and you spell the word said, S-A-I-D, stand your class up on their feet and practice skywriting it. So let's skywrite the word said to put it into our muscle memory. S-A-I-D. Do that a few more times and also provide your students opportunity to trace and write the word on their own. Practice seeing it in isolation and also in written text. Revisit these words on a daily basis, and as you accumulate more and more sight words, put them on a word wall or on a ring for your child to review independently. Now, introducing sight words and practicing them is not a one-shot deal and should be part of a daily review. And as your class accumulates additional sight words, you can put them on a ring. This is one such ring of sight words that I've made, and it includes other sight words such as does, said, was, were, have. All of these words are high-frequency words that children encounter in written text all the time, and none of them is phonetically regular.
In this module, we've looked at several purposeful examples of multisensory work. There are a host of instructional materials in the educational marketplace that describe themselves as multisensory. In selecting materials, you want to look for purposeful multisensory materials. Like we saw with this little girl, assigning sounds to these blocks helped when she was able to pick them up and move them away, isolating that middle sound. You want to make sure that the visual, kinesthetic, auditory, and tactile work actually amplifies the literacy concept. In evaluating these published materials, you also want to make sure that the material provides opportunities to apply phonics knowledge in the reading and writing of meaningful texts. Our dyslexic students need to see how learning these phonics features will help them be more effective readers and writers. We've reviewed 6 characteristics of effective instruction for students with dyslexia and seen some examples of purposeful multisensory instruction. These are techniques that are typically used by classroom language arts teachers or reading intervention specialists. If you're the science teacher or the art teacher, you might be wondering how this material could be useful in your disciplines. I think there are some ways you could think about visual, auditory, tactile, and kinesthetic moves being used in content areas. For example, here's some material that is being used to study and illustrate economics concepts. Vocabulary terms are printed on these headings, and then there are illustrations of the content on separate cards. Our dyslexic students might benefit from shuffling these cards and having the kinesthetic, visual, and auditory experience of reading the examples and sorting them under the appropriate term. Here's a teacher's bulletin board about the water cycle. Teachers created labels that can be removed from the diagram. Students can then use tactile and kinesthetic strategies to move those tiles while they look at the title and say the name. In this way, using multisensory techniques to review the concept of the water cycle. Here, a science teacher has provided a glossary of key terms. The student is provided the concept, an image of the concept, and then a written definition. This material could be cut apart so that the student kinesthetically moves the term to then align with the appropriate image and text. As you think about your particular content areas, try to think of ways you can use visual, auditory, tactile, and kinesthetic pathways to help students understand the concepts you'll be teaching. This concludes Module 5, Fundamentals of Effective Multisensory Instruction.